Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Self-Love Sessions. I'm Polly, your host, and today I'm going to be we're joined with Emma Griffin, who is a witch from Cornwall. I'm going to let Emma introduce herself before we get into the session today, but essentially we're going to be talking about alchemy and the transformation of difficulty into magic and how you can start to work with that in daily life. So welcome, Emma. Do you want to tell the listeners a little bit about you, basically?
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me on this. My name is Emma, as you said. I am a witch full-time based in Cornwall. I mainly help women all over the world sort of find their purpose, connect to their authentic self, and return home to themselves, really, and live a more magical life. That's mainly what I do.
Lovely. And the reason I really wanted Emma on my podcast in the first place is because if you've checked out her Instagram account, you'll see that she's got such a beautiful way of sort of presenting things and really adorns objects in a home. So you want to check that out. We'll give you the details at the end if you want to have a look at Emma's Instagram or anything like that. So stay tuned. So yeah, Emma, let's get straight into the subject of today, alchemy. So I wanted to ask you first and foremost, can you explain what the concept of alchemy is in your view and how you would work with that in your line of work in witchcraft, healing, and any of the modalities that you work with?
Yeah, really, for me, alchemy is the mixture of everything, whether it's energetics from the elements to plants to the seasons to planetary, and then bringing this all into your intentions to then manifest into, well, working with rituals or spells and to manifest something you really want in your life or change your life. So it's really the mixture of everything for me.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. And how would you describe to listeners to apply that into daily life, for example, into things that they can integrate into their life right now?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, all over as a collective, I think the planet is going through a lot of pain and trauma, and there's so much on social media. It's just awful. It's really awful times
It's
at the
just such a
moment.
huge
It's hard.
shift that we that we are all having to, as a collective, move through, and on very many different layers and different levels. And I think that the process of alchemizing something and transforming some of those pains that we're going through.
I do believe pain is the sort of navigation system of expansion. So we all have to, as we're here to, as our soul has to develop, we need to have these dark times to grow. But because there's so much going on at the moment, it's really hard, especially for empaths. I feel it's just so it's just terrible. But there's also, on the flip side, on social media, there's a lot of people in the sort of spiritual and wellness sort of community just saying to write it down and light it away and it will go. This spiritual bypassing.
Completely agree with what you're saying.
I just think, wow, if you're going through something really quite tough, what I think is probably tough, someone else might not think is tough, whatever you're going through, I think you really need to take that time to go inwards and really feel the feels and acknowledge and recognize where you're at. And then you can then step forward and you can use, make an altar, you can work with the elements, you can use herbs, you can use the energetics of candles, the colors, the crystals, moving your body, or even just going into nature and actually using our magic that we have around us, but also within us as well, instead of just burning it and letting it go, because it's going to come back the next day. So it's not going to be, you can't wait till the full moon and then just go, oh, I'll get rid of that one.
Yes, as if the moon's going to get rid of all of your problems.
Yeah.
And something exterior is going to.
Yeah, you've really got to work within, I think, and feel the feels. And if that means it's a day of crying and you don't want to see anybody, then that's, so be it. You have to honor that. And I think quite a lot of it is really listening to your body. And this is all free. There's a lot of things with witchcraft that people seem to think you have to have all these tools. And yes, I do have a lot of tools because I like to surround myself with things that bring me joy. But my magic comes from within and it's free. So
Absolutely.
you don't need all this stuff.
Yeah, it's just, I suppose, props to make the ritual more wholesome. And it's nice to, I mean, this is something that I also like to work with in my line of work. It's very much about the movement and the transformation of energy, which is, I suppose, alchemizing energy so that it works for you. And something that I'm very much interested in is how can I transmute those teachings into daily life and bring magic into the mundane moments, something even as simple as like washing the dishes. How can I be more present in that space? That's what magic is for me. What do you think?
Completely the same. I 100% agree with that. Even like just a little ritual of lighting incense, every day in your lounge as you're tidying up, that makes it a bit more magical than a chore. It could be really simple things, or even having that cup of tea midday, actually sitting there and being fully in the present moment, and maybe journaling or connecting with yourself and asking how you are. I think society is pushing us outside of our bodies and we need to come within. That's where all our magic is, and that's all our medicine as well. It would help so much.
Absolutely. And I often think we tend to bypass the moment for something more magical that we believe is coming up. But actually we're missing.
And it's like there's two stories running, isn't there, on social media of this, like, let's just do this and get rid of it, or just pack it away, or move on to something else, or and then you've got the other side of actually calling yourself back to yourself. So it's difficult. It's really, especially I think it's really hard for people who are going through a spiritual awakening right now, and then they're searching on social media to try and find help, information. I think it must be so overwhelming.
I think the spiritual awakening at this time for people is something that, well, you know yourself, it's not an easy process. It's a scary, fearful.
There's so many things on social media. People are saying, "Oh, it's the most wonderful experience," and I'm thinking, "No, it's horrific." On the other side, it's great, but when you're doing it, it's awful. It's funny.
It's interesting you say about social media, because I suppose nowadays that's the first point of call for any really social interaction that we've got going on. So there's a lot, a two-dimensional, like a square box, just saying some words. And sometimes I think that we again see these words but don't work with ourselves.
We just sort of read it and then they just move on. They're not actually they need to sit with it. Maybe, I think social media, I love social media and I do love Instagram because I've made it a pleasant space. When somebody comes to me and says, I don't like it, well, don't follow people that bring you down. Follow people that you are learning from and inspired. It lifts your energy up. I think it's a wonderful tool to actually learn from if you can actually slow down and actually take notes and do the learnings. If it's just quick, there's no point. It's just noise.
Definitely. And I think it's about being selective in that way and recognizing where we're using social media to be inspired and to get tools and to learn, or are we just flicking through all these different spiritual accounts or yoga accounts or whatever and actually not doing any of it? There's a big difference.
It's a huge difference. And I think the world would be a better place, because we have, although there's a lot of stuff going on that's awful, we do have this wonderful knowledge that is now presented to us. And like you said, if we could actually take time to actually do the practices and do the learnings that we're seeing on social media, I think it would help massively. It really would.
Absolutely. I mean, I suppose, you know, you're showing up and I'm showing up and lots of people are
Yeah.
showing up to help
Yeah. Yeah.
the world at this time move
Yeah.
through such a huge shift with the tools that I suppose we've
We've
worked
learned.
with in our lives.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What would
And
you,
it's a wonderful thing to do. Yeah.
absolutely, and what would you say, whilst we're on the subject of social media, what would you say would be some of the most helpful things that people can do right now in this modern world sort of shenanigans, this shift, to help people stay grounded and a little bit less distracted? Because it's the distraction that
Yeah.
makes us feel less whole and less complete, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, well, whenever you see anybody now in restaurants or cafes or anything, everyone's all on their phone. I mean, I went to London recently and everyone's walking around on their phone. No one looks at you anymore. I think that's quite
Madness.
frightening. And they're not talking to anyone, they're just scrolling as they're walking. And it's really quite scary because I live, in the middle of the countryside. So I find it quite strange. But I think one, limit your time on the apps, put your phone on silent mode because then you forget it's there, put it away, but also set really strong boundaries on who you're following, who you're interacting with. Because if you're just following old friends and relatives and stuff like that, but they actually bring you down, or you feel you can't be yourself. I have a lot of women that want to start a business on Instagram, but they can't because they can't use
Yeah.
their name because somebody else, that their family relative or friend might judge them. Well,
Yeah.
don't have those people on certain apps, just keep it on one maybe, but there's a lot of that going on. But I would be really strict with who is actually inspiring you. But also when somebody does inspire you, ask yourself why. Why does that hit a nerve? Why is that person sparking something? Because then that can be this navigational system that leads you onto something else. And that's
Yeah.
what leads on to doing the work.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
think
and
that's
also
totally
people with
right.
jealousy, the jealousy
This is a
thing as
big
well, and
issue, I think.
competition is huge, absolutely huge. Where, jealousy and envy is different things. There's a hateful energy around those things as well. But then I do think that when you sort of feel something, you think, oh, she's doing something and I can't do it now. There's this lovely, again, navigational thing that's a trigger saying, well, actually, why is this triggering you? Because it might be something that you really want to do. So you're kind of annoyed that that woman stepped into her power and is doing it. So
Yes.
look at them more as an expander instead of being jealous of them. Look at them as like a moving
Absolutely. And I think
wheel.
that's part of the alchemy that we
Yeah.
are talking about. It's sort of that
Yeah.
transmuting of one energy to
Yeah.
another. How can I shift
Yeah.
the
Shift it.
jealousy or the envy, if that's something that I'm feeling, into something
Yeah.
that's going to move me forward?
Yeah. And it comes with a
Post.
greater awareness, doesn't it? You have to have
Yeah.
that awareness and being connected to your body, because then you'll notice when these triggers come up. And that's the hard thing, I think. I'm very connected to my body, and I know you are, but somebody who's just awoken or is stepping onto this path probably isn't. And that must be,
Yeah.
quite hard. And is a practice in itself to actually connect to yourself and recognize what's going on in your mind, let alone, in your
Absolutely.
heart.
I think
Mm.
this is the step, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
all right. It's all right. Sort of us sitting here saying, right, so how can we transmute this energy to this, and how can we turn jealousy to that? But really, it's about
yeah,
having to come right back into your body, into that neutral space, into your center. Because if you haven't
yeah.
come to the center, you can't see
No,
where that is
no.
going to
Yeah,
move.
that's right. Yeah. And people can take a moment of their day to actually, even an hour. I always say to people, lots of my clients are mums, but they are busy. But you can have a cup of tea like at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and just sit outside and just ask yourself, how are you feeling? Are you stressed? What are you beating yourself up about? And actually take note of what the thoughts are that are going around in your mind. Ask yourself, are they true?
Yeah.
Because they're probably not. They're probably some limited
They never
beliefs you
seem to
picked up.
be.
They never see. It's a complete waste of time, isn't it? And actually be fully present about that cup of tea. Really enjoy it.
Definitely.
Make that tea a ritual. And that doesn't cost much. Does it? It's just a moment.
It's
And if they
true.
did
And
that once a day,
I
it'd help.
find, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No, carry on. Carry on.
No, just as you're saying about the cup of tea, like we were talking about
Yeah.
earlier with bringing the mundane into magic, I use those moments, every moment, when I recognize that I'm not using the moment in that way.
Yeah.
I use that moment as a meditative experience. How can I draw my energy back to this moment, time and time again? So it makes your whole life be a little bit more full of moments of presence.
Yeah.
It can tackle
Yeah.
things a little bit deeper.
Yeah. Even like going for a walk, I mean, I was a trained photographer, so I do like to take my phone out
So
where I go
that's
to
why your
take
photos are so
cameras.
nice.
I was an editorial photographer. But
Okay.
so I do like capturing moments, and it is part of, I'm a big storyteller. So it's something I really enjoy doing, and I'm a big creative as well. But if you go for a walk, you don't have to be permanently on your phone. You could put your phone away, and then you could take captured some moments that actually mean something instead of just snapping. Even that's fast now, isn't it? People taking photos of their kids is all really, really fast.
Yeah.
Taking stock of like where you're stood and why it's actually making you feel calm, or what is it that you like about this location, and then take a photograph. You
Exactly.
still
So the
have those things, but
photograph,
just slowing down. Yeah, so the photograph becomes more meaningful, and
yes,
then you
that
can get
becomes
on with
part of
it.
that process as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you can still
Absolutely.
use your big technology, but just slow down with it.
I
That's all it
completely
is.
agree. And so
Yeah.
for people listening at home, and we're obviously talking about, I suppose, savoring the moment and becoming more present in your everyday actions.
Yeah.
Instead of thinking them as being something that's a chore or something that we want to bypass because it's not fun enough, it's not magical enough, it's not, we're
Yeah.
not feeling the
Pressure.
bliss maybe. How can we bring that bliss there? What tools do you think? I mean, for me, I teach Kundalini yoga. For me, that style of movement with breath, then coming into meditation, and really allows me to connect to that neutral space to be able
Yeah.
to then work with the moment. What would you suggest? What do you do with your students or with yourself that
Yeah.
would help people to come back to that moment by moment
Yeah.
space?
I'm a big believer. I'm also was a interior designer, so I am a big believer of your home is your sanctuary. It's your
Definitely.
container of wellness. So you can make your home into this sort of giant hug and surround yourself with everything that brings you joy that instantly will bring you down. It will make you feel safe and at peace. Those kind of things will help. Like you said, with movement, I think dancing as well
Yeah.
and music on in your home is a wonderful tool. I think when you start to learn to connect to yourself and have that cup of tea, say at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the next day you might want to start actually journaling and getting the information out of your body
Yeah.
and just spilling it. I mean, journaling is a wonderful tool. Meditation is my best medicine that's ever helped me. It really is. And it doesn't cost you a thing. And I think we need to get everything out, especially trauma, out of our bodies, write it down, and then actually work through it, and then actually put steps into actually releasing this into the world, but not just burning it. Yes, you can burn it, but also feeling it. And then once we've cleared that, then we can manifest. I think there's so much sort of noise as well about you can manifest. Well, you have to
Yeah,
go in order to bring in the new. There's no point keep just bringing it in. And then I think most people are manifesting on an ego level. You know, you might not actually
totally.
want those
Everybody, the
things.
words abundance and manifestation. What can I get?
Yeah, it's
Can I
everywhere. Yeah,
grasp
what can I
that?
get? What do I need? Where
What's
actually, if
mine
you work
now?
out why you need that, it might be simple thing of like you might want that loads of money and to have the big house because it gives you security, or you might be searching for freedom or peace or happiness. So then you
Yeah,
can manifest that instead of the material objects,
yeah.
you know. So yeah, I think I've sort of gone around a different
No, it's yeah.
thing, haven't I?
I totally
Personally.
agree. Like this,
Yeah.
why? What is it that you feel is lacking within you to
Yeah.
feel that you have to grasp from
Yeah.
somewhere exterior? What is it in there that wants to be fulfilled? And often it
Yeah.
isn't the want for money or more possessions. It's
No.
something that you need to empty from yourself often. It's just
Yeah.
often something to empty more than to gain, which I've
Yeah.
found personally myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too. Yeah. It could be just be really simple, but there's a lot of pressure, isn't there, where lots of people are sort of, oh, that person's got it, so I need to feel like this, or
Yeah,
that person's life on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, they've got a better life than me, so my page needs to look like this. When really we should be celebrating our uniqueness because no one is the same. And that's why we're all so wonderful. We should be
absolutely.
celebrating that.
I completely
It doesn't
agree. And
matter what other people think. Mm,
given the times that we're going through of this movement into a little bit more
yeah,
of a hopefully collective, a bit more
yeah,
unity, a little bit more of that ecosystem that we were meant to have in the first place, where we do things
yeah,
together a little bit more, then what you've
yeah,
just said in regards to we all have our uniquenesses and our differences, we need to have those because then we can come
yeah,
together. Instead of
yeah.
it being like, how
Each
can we
other.
all have the same thing? Then we wouldn't have to
Yeah,
work as a team.
yeah, yeah. And also, like, even dressing, you know, you can, nobody really has time to check how they want to feel for the day. So you can actually put clothes on to give you that extra energy, or, you know, do your hair or whatever. Or it's the same things of having all these things around you that bring you joy. But, and I think more than ever, especially women, we need a sisterhood. We need to be
Definitely.
supporting the women, celebrating aging and the wisdom of, you know, a 20-year-old can give a, I've been witnessing this recently and I think it's so beautiful, a 23-year-old woman can give a 60-year-old woman wisdom and advice, and it could be vice
Absolutely.
versa, and I think that's so beautiful. And I think we need that more than ever, not competing or being jealous, or, you know, we just need to come together more.
Definitely. And I hope that there's going to be that shift in social media, like what you were talking
Yeah,
about, of people feeling that they can express their wisdom if they're 20 or
yeah,
70 or and because I
yeah,
think some people feel that because they are of a certain age or they are in a certain, I don't know, career or whatever, that they are unworthy of expressing their wisdom. I know that this is something that I felt in the
yeah.
past
Mm.
myself. Do you know what I mean
Yeah,
by
I
that?
agree. Yeah, I do. I agree with that. I mean, even in witchcraft, you can, there's a lot of new witches that are scared to even be seen or use the word witch because they're worried that they're doing it wrong, or somebody else is going to say, you know, they'll pull them up. And I don't believe in that. I
I
think, yes,
don't.
I've been doing it for a long, long time, but how I do it, it's how I do it. You know, so
It's
no one's really my
intuitive. It comes from
competition.
the
Yeah,
heart, doesn't it?
comes within. Yeah. So I know I'm not doing anything wrong because it's how I do it. And somebody else might do it a completely different way. That's how they do it. Because we're all
Because
unique. We will have our own power.
everybody's
So it's
experience
that.
is valid.
Yeah, 100%.
And everybody's
Yeah.
truth is valid. So somebody's truth and experience of how they healed a wound, for example, or
Yeah.
I don't know, spoke to God, whatever it is, or
Yeah.
got connected to themselves, is very different in everybody's
Yeah.
experience. So we can never put somebody's experience to shame. And I think there's a lot of shame
Yeah.
that goes on in the
There's a lot of
spiritual
shame.
community. What do you think
Yeah.
about
Or
that?
there's all this like ladder of who's like a more experienced than other. I think everyone's the same. There isn't
Exactly.
anyone better than me or knows more, or everyone's the same, and we just have different wisdom. That's all it is. We're just here to
Absolutely.
just share it. But
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. So if you were to think about just coming back to alchemizing these, moving, transforming something from in one position to another position, what would you tell the listeners how, if they are struggling with stuff like what we've been talking about, actually having some form of self-expression, showing up to their own wisdom and wanting to move forward from a difficult situation, maybe in a new business or in moving through recognizing what their gifts might be or their talents or what is hiding inside of themselves? How would you describe to somebody to be able to bring that to the surface and start to work with it with
yeah,
confidence and some self-assertiveness?
yeah. Well, first they've got to recognize how they're feeling, and that comes in from within. So we have to stop and be in the present moment. I mean, you could put on some lovely classical music or some meditation music, something like that will actually slow your energy down. I do think that something very simple of lighting a white candle in front of you literally signifies to our subconscious we're about to do something sacred. That also puts you in the perfect place. Burning incense. I'm a lover of frankincense or myrrh. I'm obsessed with them. And then that makes you feel good. It makes you feel calm. Put some comfy clothes on, take your bra off, whatever you want to do, just to get fully in that present moment. And then actually ask your soul, and you can place your left hand on your heart space and ask your soul, like, why am I here? What brings me joy? How can I move through this difficult time? Or if you're dealing with them, say like health issues, whereabouts in my body is this? Maybe it's that problem has come from a trauma that I've had, in my teenage time or something. So how can I forgive or let go of or move forward? It's more about the recognizing of where all of this is in the first place. And then you can ask yourself, well, what baby steps can I do? And that could be little thing each day. It doesn't have to be all at once. I'm not
Totally.
a believer of doing like 5-year goals or anything like that,
No,
because I
no, no,
prefer to
no.
be in the present
Absolutely not
moment.
for me.
No, I like having desires, and I'd like to have some chickens one day, but that's not in a plan of when I'm gonna have those. They'll
Because
come when I
life
want them,
has its own plan.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you
And
only
it
get
always
disappointed.
changes. Yeah. There's a lot of expectation, isn't it? And then
Yeah.
you suddenly think, oh, I'm shattered. So there's no point in having all those things, but it's nice to put them in a journal so that you can look back and go, oh yeah, my heart really desired those chickens, and I still really want those, and it's having that awareness. That's all it is.
Definitely.
Very simple steps.
I think the awareness is the first and foremost space that we have to come to.
Yeah. It's the most
In
important
my
thing.
humble opinion, to be able to
Mm.
transmute anything from one situation to the
Yeah.
next, to be able to move forward,
Yeah.
we have to have that awareness, which comes with giving ourselves the permission to.
Give us that
Because
time.
often we feel that we have to come last, or
Yeah.
we should.
Especially women, because they're putting everybody else first, aren't they?
Yeah, so that
And they don't
first
have the
even giving
time.
ourselves
But
that time.
giving yourself that time. And I don't believe that we don't have this time. My kids are grown
Same.
up now, but but you can still have that cup of tea, even if you're playing with the kids, and you can still check in with yourself. You can still journal while your kids are with you. You can go outside in nature and you can still check in with yourself. How am I feeling? So we all have the time. But
Absolutely.
once we've done that and we can actually, like you said, have that awareness and recognize, then you can do rituals to let go and banish and remove. But then you can also start placing your intentions into what you do really want. And that's where the change, where the expansion comes from, because you're fully clear, you know exactly what your soul's wanting. So then the magic will work. There's no point
Yeah,
just rushing.
I think one of the main problems is the rushing, because we
Just the
can't sense
rushing.
the center. We just
Yeah.
can't sense it, because we're either thinking about the future or trying to distract ourselves from the core, from the moment, or then
Yeah.
sort of
Or way
ruminating
back
on
to
the
the
past and
past.
projecting it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so,
Hardly anybody's in the present moment.
yeah. And so, if you were to have 5 of your absolute favorite ways to bring yourself back to the present moment, like if you could just put 5 on your hand and you had to use them, what would they be? Something that you would always use in your daily life.
Right. What I use, I do, well, I tell everybody with this, and I've done this even when I was working as a photographer and I've been on like big photo shoots and life was really busy. You go off for a fake wee. So you go off into the toilet before you make any decisions. So if somebody is asking you, bombarding you with questions, do you want to do this? Do you want to go out here? Do you want to, sign this or say yes to this? I would never say yes. I would just go, just hang on a minute, and you go for a fake wee. So then you place your left hand on your heart, and then you'll ask your soul, what do I really want to do? Do I want to go out for dinner with that person? Do I want to do that job? Do I want to do that for my husband? Do I want to do that for my kids? See what your soul says and feel
Love
it.
it.
And because we have this awareness, we put ourselves first, then you can honor that and go, okay, my body says yes, or my body doesn't want to go out tonight. Then that's where the boundaries come in, and that makes life easier. I think meditation is the biggest thing, is getting the present moment, because it pulls you straight back into your soul, into your breath. Journaling is another tool that can go with that. I think simple things like going barefoot and just standing on the grass and just anchoring in and just feeling, listening to your breath, calling up the energy from the ground into your body and just feeling life.
Yeah.
That's, you're in the
Feeling
present
the inner
moment.
body, that absolute,
Yeah. The
the
core of you.
electricity that's going on in there that we forget is even
Yeah.
radiating inside of us.
Yeah. And I think as well, losing yourself, like laughter, dancing, having fun, losing yourself, and then actually coming back to going, why was that fun? We don't ask ourselves why. So the
Yeah.
word why is will put you into the present moment as well. So yeah, that's probably my 5.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely amazing. And meditation for me, I would say, would be absolutely up there.
Yeah. It's my non-negotiable. I have to meditate every day.
Same. I mean, mine comes in different forms. I often work with mantra, because mantra for me
Mm.
really connects me to that singular thought, or that singular
Yeah. Yeah.
point where we can focus. And I suppose the focus gives you the clarity, gives you the moment. So
Yeah.
I find mantra is very, very helpful as well.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely like you, Emma. I need to. I like to have a ritualistic space whereby, number one, the first thing I do would be burn something.
Yeah.
I like the smell of something and something
Yeah.
purifying around me before I move
Yeah.
into a space.
Yeah. And I think because of, as so many empaths, and the collective is so, in despair and trauma, and it's just awful out there. I think cleansing your aura needs to be a priority as well, and your homes, because your home is like a giant
Definitely.
crystal, so it's going to radiate out good or bad. So we need to keep that up, keep our boundaries set in place, and also cleanse ourselves and our environments. And that
Yeah,
could be a
just like
cinnamon
our
stick,
bodies.
it could be, yeah,
All
yeah, it's
objects
important.
hold energy, right? So it's
Yeah,
important to keep that
yeah,
energy in a space that
yeah,
feels right for you. And I do the same. I'm often moving things around. Sounds like
yeah, me too. Yeah,
strange,
moving the
but I
house
mean, you're
around.
an
Love
interior
doing that. Put
designer.
music
So
on. I love that. And my son, actually, he's 21 now, or going to be, and he used to come into a room and say, "Oh, Mum, I'm a bit bored. Should we move the house around? Should we change rooms?" He really loved it. And it's really lovely because when you do that and everything's all clean, everything's moved around, then someone comes home, they feel that energy. They're like,
The
"Oh,
new
wow, this
energy.
house feels lovely." Yeah. And I think that's so important because, the home should be your sanctuary, shouldn't be, you know, full of things that you don't like, or shouldn't be messy all the time. You should occasionally, yeah, fine, but it should be honored because it helps us. It helps us in our actual daily lives. And same with the
It clears your
garden.
mind as well, doesn't it? I think
Yeah.
there's so much mess going on around us. The more you can clear and clean and cleanse body, mind,
Yeah.
spirit,
Yeah. And
home.
we're in control of it.
Yeah,
That helps, doesn't it? Because we're not in
definitely.
control of what's outside. We can be in control of ourselves and our homes.
It's very
And
true
also a
because the
pet. Like we were
physical.
talking about dogs. Dogs are also, my chihuahua helps me get in the present moment. Having that moment of just connecting to your fairy babies, that does really help you
Definitely,
too.
definitely. Well, my husband's furry enough to be able to
So smart.
really fluffy. I like fluffy things.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I really want to just pick up on this, just the last couple of questions and we'll wrap it up soon, guys. But I really wanted to pick up on what you said about the home and the body and these being a point of call to connect you to the present moment. Because I think one of the things that it really does, because it's physical, is we can
Yeah.
control the physical more than we can control our emotional
Yeah.
space, our mental space. So if we ground ourselves in a very sensory experience to the physical, it then
Yeah.
starts to distribute that energy into places that are a little bit harder to comprehend. What would your
Yeah,
thoughts on that
yeah, yeah,
be?
agree. And if you're bringing in plants as well, bringing nature into your homes, you bring in crystals, you light candles, you've got all the elements going. Fish tanks, I'm obsessed with fish tanks.
Yeah,
That's very calming as well.
calming.
Um, and also, yeah, and also making little altars. Yes, I do have a big altar behind me, but I have altars all over the house and in the garden. And when
Right.
you're sort of going around daily life and you're busy and you're sort of distracted, when you look around your home, that altar will instantly pulls you back in, reminds you. It's a
Completely.
visual thing that reminds you, okay, you're going to honor this altar, you're going to meditate in front of it, you're going to leave an offering, what you're going to do. That pulls us straight
Absolutely
in.
agree. It's a reminder of where you're going, who you are at
Yeah.
heart. And
Yeah. And they're
I
fun
do
to
the same with
make.
sticky notes. I mean, it's a totally different
Sticky
thing. I
notes.
also use altars, but if there's something
Yeah.
that I feel I want to work with,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
back in the day,
Sticky
I
notes are
struggled
great.
with
Or chalk pen
dysmorphia.
on mirrors.
Yeah,
Yeah, chalk pens on
exactly,
mirrors are
exactly.
great. Mm.
Visuals.
Visuals. Yeah. Even like an oracle card that you've pulled that's really hit a nerve in the morning, you could put that downstairs on an altar in the lounge or something. So you keep seeing it all throughout the day, or put it in your kitchen, or make
Yeah,
little altars in your kitchen to make, cooking a bit more, more magical and more in the moment. Actually place intention, everything you do, from housework to cooking to making a coffee to everything. And that helps.
absolutely. I suppose
Yeah.
that's what we were talking about, bringing the magic into the mundane, which this podcast has sort of
Yeah.
unraveled
Yeah.
itself into being. Because yeah, I think that
Yeah.
that is the first point of call, is how we place ourselves in our spaces and in our environments, and feeling comfortable being ourselves in those
Yeah.
spaces.
Yeah. And it's okay to have a different color scheme. It's okay to have a different sofa. It's okay to have things that you feel are quite quirky, but one of your friends has got something else. We're all different.
Yeah.
And that's lovely.
I think it's the first place of self-expression, isn't it? Really opening yourself up to who you
Yeah.
are at heart,
Yeah.
can come through your
Yeah.
home and what you wear. And
What you wear. And is that people aren't, they're just jumping to the fast fashion, the horrible fabrics, and dressing in everything so they blend in, they don't want to be seen, they're just following the crowd. Well, how do you know who you are in that moment? You need to work out whether your soul really wants to dress like that, or that you want to feel nicer fabrics on you. Yes, they're more money, but you could actually save up for that item and cherish that, and that would last you forever instead of something
completely.
that's never gonna, there's all of that going on as well.
I think that's the era we're living in, is that alchemizing ourselves from what we think we should be to fit in, to actually drawing the attention towards who we really are at our core. And I think that unraveling of these, are these my values, or are these conditions that are placed upon myself? How can I learn the difference, and how can I start to integrate my real self into this moment? Because that's so liberating.
Yeah, I mean, you could do Pinterest boards, couldn't you, of your wardrobe, of your ideal home, of your garden, and start bringing those things into your life. I think going back to social media, if you have women that are inspiring you or triggering you in the jealousy situation, then use these women to expand you and actually look at their lives, read interviews about them, see how they're living out, use their knowledge, and look at it as the moving vision board, because that will really help you, because it gives you that, okay, she's doing it right, and that's how I really want to be. And this is, when people like change their muggle jobs, and then their family will say, you can't be a yoga instructor, you can't do that because you'll never earn any money. If you've got all these women as a moving vision board, you can say, well, she has, and she has, and she has, and it gives you confidence.
Yeah.
We need to create our own evidence.
Totally. So as we're now speaking of sort of like coming back to yourself, coming back home to yourself, this might be a good time to mention your book that's coming out. You can tell people about it, not me.
It's called Find Your Soul Path, and it's out on the 17th of October. It's a witchy self-help book. It's very beautiful. It's got lots of photography in it and illustrations. And there's some journal prompts in it, there's some exercises to do, and then at the back I teach you how to work with the wheel of the year and do rituals through the Sabbaths. And then there's a ritual for a birthday and for grief at the very end as well. So I'm very excited.
Well, I'll be getting one of those, that is for sure. And I suppose even something like that, I absolutely love writing as well. For me to process emotions and thoughts and trauma, I often come to the moment and then I write it out. Not so much journaling, but in poems and in pieces of short writing. And I suppose for you, writing that full book is a really nice personal journey for yourself.
Yeah, wonderful journey. I've loved it.
How long have you been doing that for then?
It took me about 8 or 9 months to do it.
Wow.
And when I was asked if I would, because I've never thought, I'm dyslexic, so I never thought I would be able to write a book. And then my editor found me on social media and said, would you like to write a book? And I thought, okay, I'll give it a go. And yeah.
I can't wait for it to come out.
Beautiful. Thank you.
I think it's just what people need nowadays, as we were talking about this spiritual awakening happening everywhere, the shift going on, new era, everything's going crazy, all the facades are dropping. I think the Soul Path has come out in divine timing.
Yeah, it's perfect timing, and it's simple. It's nothing. You don't have to be a witch to do it. It's very simple.
Fabulous. Okay, so we'll wrap it up with that. Have you got any last things that you want to say to anybody who's listening to the podcast? Any tips that you want to give them?
Just to really celebrate your uniqueness, and to the magic and the transformation is in the present moment. That is your best medicine, and it's free.
It's the truth.
Free.
Thank you so much then, Emma. We'll tune out with that. Oh, before we go, where can people find you if they want to contact you, work with you, or look at your lovely house?
Well, my house and everything's on Instagram at Emma Griffin Witch. I'm on TikTok under the same name as well. And yeah, and my website,
Amazing.
Emma Griffin Witch as well. So yeah.
Perfect. And I'll tag that to the description of
Thank
this
you.
podcast as well.
Thank
Okay,
you.
wonderful. Thank you so much for chatting, and best of luck with your
For
book.
asking me.